Greetings, everyone. This is Carolyn Bennett Hunter. Welcome to my virtual book signing. The year 2020 has presented a lot of challenges to all of us, and this is the first ever video that I've made. I hope that this goes well. I'm very proud to announce to you the Zarahemla Matter is now published and available at Amazon in both Kindle and paperback. And this seems strange to me, not being able to see you in person, but it is an opportunity to tell you a little bit about this exciting new book. And it stands alone by itself, even though you haven't read the other volumes in the Matter series. Jim Otterman and his party traveled to South America to try to find the rest of some treasure hidden in a lost city in the jungle. But even more than that, they try to discover what's happened to the rest of some tourists that have gone missing. And part of this inspiration for this is my friend Beverly, who went to South America with her husband, and in true Beverly fashion, she got to chit-chatting, left her passport in one of those trays at the checkpoint, and when she got to the next check station, didn't have it. She was arrested, put in a cement prison cell there in Colombia, and it took her husband 6 hours to find an interpreter to come and explain to the guard that she thought she'd left her passport behind. Well, long story short, when they finally got to this other station, being escorted there, in Beverly's words, by two big guards with big guns, they were taken into this creepy little room, and hundreds of passports were dumped onto a table. And she was told, if your passport's there, you're free to go. Well, her blood ran cold when she saw this, and rightly so, as mine did when I heard about this. And it made me wonder, whatever did happen to all of these people? How could there be that many people missing? I began to do some studying on the subject, knowing that I was going to be writing a South American adventure, and decided to incorporate it into my story. I studied everything from plantations where crops are picked down there for cacao, for chocolate, cocoa, for cocaine. Many people are taken and work as slaves in sweatshops. I even did a little studying about cryogenic storage chambers and black market medical parts. And naturally, my studies led me to investigate things about the wild animals and the diseases that take place there in the jungle. And all in all, it sounds like a very frightening place, and I'm not sure if going to Machu Picchu is still on my bucket list. It has been for a long time, but it really does sound like a very dangerous place to go. Nevertheless, this story, it is a true thriller, and unfortunately, some of the characters do get killed off in this story. I've had a couple of readers that have read it so far express their disappointment that one of their favorite characters was killed off. Well, I'm sorry, but it was that person's time. And without any further ado, I'd like to read to you a small spoiler. It's a 5-page section from the book, and I hope that you will enjoy this. Pardon me, I must wear my glasses to read this for you. And those of you who have your book already, you could follow along if you like. It's on page 105. Nearby, at another location in the jungle, Bart Higby had just attached climbing harnesses to Carolyn and Susan. It was time to rappel from the wrecked plane in the canopy to the jungle floor below. "What about Ted and Carlos?" questioned Susan. "We can't just leave them here." "Don't forget the cubs," Carolyn reminded Bart. "You did say we would be able to bury them today, too. Perhaps we can lower all the bodies down first." "I'm telling you, something will only dig them up again if we do," explained Bart. "It's better to just leave them all here. They're going to be eaten by something anyway, no matter what we do with them." "Even Ted?" questioned Susan. "His wife is expecting their first child right now. Do you want to be the one to tell her we just left his body here like this?" "If we make it out of here, I'd be happy to. I'm sure Ted would want us to have the best possible chance of getting out of here alive," continued Bart. We've got to make it to that river before Jim does, or we might miss him completely. And it's a long way back to civilization from here. Trust me. Susan rolled her eyes at hearing the familiar phrase, trust me, but declined to comment. He might be right, Carolyn finally admitted. Okay, Bart asked Susan. Are we in agreement? You're right, Susan reluctantly agreed. Let's do this. Show us what to do. First of all, I've got a 50-meter rope here, which totals 160 feet, Bart advised her. We're about 100 feet up, so we should be fine. If it turns out we're any higher up than that, we're basically screwed. Excuse me, frowned Susan. In other words, translated Bart, we should not have to resort to Plan B unless I've misjudged how far up we are. What's Plan B? Questioned Susan. Trust me, you don't want to know. In either event, this is all the rope we have, so we'll need to go down one at a time. We should be wearing helmets too, but those were obviously gone, along with most of the other gear we had stowed on that side of the plane. It was the carabiners that kept this stuff from being sucked out too. Speaking of carabiners, how do they fit into the equation? Questioned Carolyn. That will soon become obvious, replied Bart. This is a belaying device, and our rope will slip right through here, see? He then demonstrated. What about the carabiners? Carolyn grilled him. That's not the same thing as a carabiner, is it? No, it's not, smiled Bart as he demonstrated again, but it's all good, no matter which method we use. Carolyn frowned and gave him a puzzled look. So, what hooks onto what? Questioned Susan. Hold on, instructed Bart as he used a bowline knot to tie one end of the rope around the main trunk of the tree just above a sturdy branch beside him. He then tugged against it to be sure it was secure. I don't think I'm strong enough to hold back the rope on that thing, feared Susan. I'll fall to my death. No, you won't, Bart assured her as he double-checked the webbing on Susan's climbing harness. This particular belaying device is a Rescue 8 that I'm attaching to the front of your climbing harness with this locking carabiner. It's rated at 10,000 pounds, by the way. And when the device is held in the locked-off position and under tension, it will allow you to hold your full weight with only one hand. To make that happen, I've created a bight on the rope by slipping it through here and over this. Now we lock the gate on the carabiner. I can't do it, wailed Susan. As tears began to flow, she was trembling with fright. Oh, hell, cursed Bart as he unlocked the rope from her harness. Let me demonstrate on myself. Watch closely. I am creating a bight on this rope by pulling it through the belay, like this. Now I'm attaching it to my harness with this carabiner and am making sure the gate on it is securely locked. Why is the thing on the carabiner that screws shut called a gate? Asked Carolyn. Because it locks everything into place. Now I need you to pay attention, ladies. Next, I'm tossing the opposite end of this rope down to the jungle floor. We should have plenty to spare. What if it gets hung up on something? Let's hope it doesn't, sighed Bart. Finally, I'm grabbing a length of this rope and pulling it around my waist. I'll use my right hand as a brake whenever I need to stop. What if the rope just keeps coming? I control that too by letting out just what I want with my left hand from the belay, like this. Bart then lowered himself down a few feet for them to see. I can't do it, persisted Susan, especially without gloves. We have no choice, whispered Carolyn. Perhaps Carolyn would like to go first, suggested Bart as he pulled himself back up. Sure, I can do that. My husband and I took a ziplining class one summer. Can you show me again how the rope goes? Bart wasted no time unhooking himself and fastening the Rescue 8 to the carabiner on Carolyn's harness. He carefully wrapped the rope around her waist. Put your left hand here where the rope feeds in. Bart then placed the free end of the rope in her right hand. The rope is already positioned in the device, so all you need to do is push off with your feet and lower yourself down. Give yourself a little slack each time you drop down, lean back, and sit into it at a 45-degree angle. Much to his surprise, Carolyn began rappelling down from the tree like a pro. This is fun, called Carolyn. When you get to the bottom, I'll need you to tie that belay to the end of the rope for me. Just use a bowline knot, directed Bart. Then I can pull it back up. Only our spare was sucked out. So Probably the gate on the carabiner holding it in place on the wall of the storage cabinet was open. "Aye, aye, Captain," hollered Carolyn as she continued her descent. Upon reaching the jungle floor, she quickly unhooked the rescue device from the carabiner on the front of her harness, slid it onto the end of the rope, and tied it into place. "Okay." Bart immediately began pulling the rope back up. "You're enjoying this, aren't you?" accused Susan. "About as much as an ingrown toenail," sniggered Bart as he retrieved the Rescue 8 and quickly repositioned it on the upper end of the rope before attaching it to the carabiner on Susan's harness. "Now?" Susan was ready to close her eyes, hold her breath, and jump for it. "Hold on, not so fast. Let me toss the other end of the rope back down first." Bart then pulled the rope around Susan's waist and put the breaking end in her right hand. "Now I want you to open your eyes. Put your left hand here on the Rescue 8. Look at me. Don't try to look down. Just focus on what's right here in front of you. Use your left hand to lift the rope out of the device, just a little bit at a time, and then stop yourself with the right hand whenever you need to. That's the braking hand. And be sure to lean back into it at a 45-degree angle. You can do this." "Can't you just lower me down?" "Yes, but not with any spin control. Not with this gear. Even the life flight gurney was stuck out. This is it." "I need gloves," Susan mentioned again. "I'm sure they're somewhere on the jungle floor along with everything else. But if you're not opposed to it, you could put on Ted's socks." "You want me to put a dead guy's socks on my hands?" "How are your hands?" Bart hollered to Carolyn. "Raw," came the response from below. "Good thing the medical supplies weren't on that side of the plane," muttered Susan as Bart retrieved Ted's socks and put them on her hands. "Okay, are you ready?" Susan slowly nodded and began lowering herself down. "That's it. Okay, there you go," encouraged Bart. "Keep going. Just let out a little bit of rope each time and then push off with your feet again, not too hard." Below them, Carolyn had just noticed that something was watching her from a bamboo thicket nearby. "Susan, please hurry," thought Carolyn as she slowly reached down to pull Bart's handgun from the boot holster she was wearing. Hopefully she wouldn't have to fire it until Susan was closer to the ground. She didn't want to alarm her halfway down. And perhaps it was nothing. All at once, a loud creaking noise from above caused all of them to look. The plane was splitting in half, and it was going to fall. Its left wing had moved several inches from where it had been moments before. "I'd suggest you hurry," urged Bart. Susan glanced up at the plane and froze when she realized what was happening. "Move it!" shouted Bart as the wing dropped a little more. It was only a couple of feet from his head. "I can't move," wailed Susan. Wasting no time, Bart rigged up a second belay system using only the carabiners and attached them to his harness. He then hooked them onto the rope and rapidly lowered himself hand over hand to Susan's position. Without hesitation, Bart clipped and locked his carabiner onto the Rescue 8, pulling himself in a face-to-face position with Susan. "Now put your arms and legs around me and hang on." "Are you kidding? We'll be killed." All at once, the wing of the plane separated itself from the wrecked plane and continued falling towards them. The other half of the plane was also falling, but on its own path toward the jungle floor on the other side of the tree. Susan tightly wrapped her arms and legs around Bart without further question and braced herself for impact. Unexpectedly, the plane's wings stopped again and caught between two branches, just inches short of reaching them. "I sure hope this holds," muttered Bart as he kicked against the trunk of the tree with all his might, causing them to swing sideways. "What are you doing?" screamed Susan. "Endeavoring to get out of the way in time," explained Bart as he kicked off again, causing them to swing even more. "I want you to try and grab the branch on that other tree next time we're over there. I can't let go of you." "You can, and you must," differed Bart. "Just use one hand. You've got to try." "You can do it, Susan," encouraged Carolyn from below, without realizing that the fingernails on her right hand were digging into Bart's back, even through his clothing. Susan let go with her left hand and tried to grab the branch, but missed. "Try again," urged Bart as he kicked off once more, allowing their bodies to pick up momentum. Finally managing to grab the branch, Susan gasped with horror as it broke off in her hand. "What are we going to do?" she demanded as she dropped the broken branch when they swung back toward the danger zone. Without warning, the branches on which the wing had come to rest snapped off, allowing it to resume its descent. "Hang on, this is going to be close," Bart advised her as he pushed one final time with utmost determination. "Oh my God," screamed Susan as she closed her eyes and tightened her grip on Bart with both arms and legs. Miraculously, their final swing sideways happened at the exact moment the wing dropped past their location, missing them by a very narrow margin. Just as they swung back to where the plane's wing had been moments before, Bart managed to grab the tree's trunk. "Susan, I need you to let go of me and finish your descent. I'll follow you down." "I can't." "You must," insisted Bart as he unhooked his carabiner from the rescue 8 and then extricated himself from Susan's grasp while reattaching his carabiner to the rope above it. "Okay, wait. I can do this." "Now would be a good time," suggested Bart as he began pulling himself back up to where the plane had been. "Like this?" "That's it. You've got it." Bart sighed a deep sigh of relief. "You can take your time now." "Where's Carolyn?" Susan suddenly asked with alarm as she surveilled the plane's final landing site below. "Oh my God, look how far it is. What if it landed on her?" What if? Forget how far it is. Forget what I said about taking your time. We need to get down there now, just as quickly as possible. You can do this, Susan. Trust me." "Would you please stop saying that?" Susan began lowering herself again. Not only was she worried about Carolyn, but was also quite anxious to free herself from the climbing apparatus. "Carolyn, are you down there? I don't see you. Where are you?" The startling sound of a handgun being fired from somewhere below caused Susan to panic and start spinning. "We're going to die." "We're not going to die," called Carolyn as she emerged from the bamboo thicket beside the wrecked plane's wing. "I'm fine." "What were you shooting at?" demanded Susan as she struggled to regain control of her descent and stop herself from spinning. "Get down here and I'll show you," answered Carolyn as she carefully circled around to the other side of the tree to where the rest of the plane had fallen. It was a miracle they hadn't caught on fire. Carolyn continued to hold the handgun in ready position. She stealthily approached the plane's main cabin where the bodies of Ted, I'm not going to say the rest of it, you'll have to read to find out these names, because reading this is enough of a spoiler, and the bodies were intertwined at impossible angles within the wreckage. What a waste of life, she thought as she sadly shook her head. And you can read more about the exciting adventures of Carolyn and Susan and the other members of the Ottoman expedition in the Zarahemla Matter. And you can find out who survived. One final thing before I end this interview. Some people have asked me to talk about some of the odd coincidences that have happened while writing my books. And I did not talk about that before, but I'll take a moment to talk about that now. In the Ocean View Matter, the very day that I finished writing that book, a friend of mine died. And it was interesting because I received a message from someone that I hadn't heard from 43 years to let me know that our classmate had passed away. And when I looked up the obituary and saw that he died on the very same day I finished writing that book, and he was the main character in the book, well, I thought that was a bit odd. When my friend Susan flew up to be there for my book signing, she asked me how I knew about her brother passing away on March the 23rd. Well, I didn't. And of course, he was a character in the book too. Well, in real life, he actually did pass away on March the 23rd. And just as I was taking that in, our first customer came. And as Susan and I looked at her license, which she left laying open when she went to get her money, that woman had the same first and last name as the widow of the guy who died the day that I finished writing that book. I'm telling you, the hairs were standing up on the back of my neck at that point. Just coincidence, right? Well, I went on to write The Powell Mountain Matter. I went to work the very next day after finishing the book, and I told a friend of mine, I said, hey, don't be telling me anybody died yesterday, because I just finished writing my book. They gave me an odd look, of course. They said, you didn't know? Juanita died yesterday. Juanita? Juanita died? Oh, my word. I couldn't believe it. When I called Susan to tell her about this, she said, that's not the half of it. Her ex-husband had gone to a park on March the 23rd, of all days, drank himself into a coma and died. And that was during the Powell Mountain Matter. Okay, these have all got to be just coincidences. I went on to write The Killingham Matter. The day I finished writing that book, my cousin Randy passed away. He died of a brain aneurysm. My mom's friend Pat from her church passed away. And while I was writing that book, a person from my past, whose name I'm not at liberty to disclose, but I know he knows who he is, he had emergency surgery to remove some shrapnel from his abdomen. This is a guy that was in the military and had been shot, and the pieces had suddenly become life-threatening on March the 23rd. Really? Well, I even went on to write another book, The Zarahemla Matter, and I can't believe all the coincidences that have happened during this. And we all know what happened on March 23rd during this year. Half the people in the world, well, not just half the people, all the people in the world have been affected by the coronavirus, and a lot of people have died. And this is really hard for me to accept, but the very day I finished writing the Zarahemla Matter, I went to work, and again, I was told that a friend of mine, this guy's name was Doug, he passed away the day I finished writing the Zarahemla Matter. And that very morning, the day after I finished writing it, I almost died. I was taken away by ambulance to the hospital to have an emergency appendectomy and almost didn't make it. So some people have asked me, are you going to write another book? Actually, I am. These have got to all just be coincidences, right? Well, let's hope they are. I wish everyone well. I hope you enjoy this book. Let me know what you think, and thank you so much. God bless all of you. Happy reading.